Assalamu alaikum, greetings and welcome to Muhammad and Friends. Brothers and sisters, we are streaming live. If you'd like to participate in today's conversation, you can give us a call at 773-434-6625. Before I introduce our guests, brothers and sisters, I want to remind you to please follow us on our social media platforms, which include Facebook and Twitter, and go to our YouTube page, click the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever we post a show. Brothers and sisters, I'm very excited to introduce our guest today. He is a longtime friend and brother, a Crow member. He is our brother Fareed Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Walaikum salam, brother.
Brother, it's nice to have you on. I think we've been on together in a while, brother.
Yeah, it's been some time.
Yes, sir.
We're here today.
Yes, sir. Brother, really just wanted to come on. I know I'll give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and tell how long you've been in the teachings and a member of Crow. But we want to just get into some old-fashioned witness bearing today and just talk about, of course, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, not only his place in history, but more importantly, what has his teachings done for us and how it could be beneficial to our people. But before we get into that conversation, why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself?
Well, as you mentioned, my name is Brother Fareed Muhammad. I've been a member of Crow since, 1995, so some years now.
Yes, sir.
Some years now, and I credit, this organization, I credit the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad for giving us life, and I credit the founders of this organization for having the love for the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the dedicated and wanted not only those who followed the messenger prior to 1975, but those of us who came after 1975 when information got distorted, and that when the people were moving further and further away from the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and attempting to write him out of history right in front of their very eyes at that time. And even with today, it's still a lot of misinformation that's out here, but I have to be thankful to Almighty God Allah, like I said, for the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, for Crow, and the founders for Crow, for establishing such a distinguished and fine organization.
I'm thinking back to when you came, because it was a few of you all who came at the same time, and all of us were around the same age. Do you recall exactly, were you looking for anything, or what brought you to Crow?
Two things. One, yes, I was looking at that time when I came to Crow, like so many of us, even today, from a certain type of environment from what our people are around, with a lot of crime and violence. I had, as we say, one foot out of the grave and one foot on a banana peel. I was going to college. I kind of was trying to transition from that particular lifestyle to college, and a brother of ours who I've grown up with as long as I can remember, Brother Khalil Muhammad, had started coming. And he invited me one summer when I came home from school. He had invited me to Crow, and I came, and I've been around ever since. But it was Brother Khalil who invited a few of us. He came, like you said, we'd all came around the same time, and what he said, what the messenger taught, and what the organization was about opened my eyes, and it was very awakening for me.
You've always been a brother who interacted with the people. What was it about the teachings that really made you interested? In coming, because, imagine just coming to a new place, you listening, but over time, what was it that really made you stick with this?
I was looking for something, and what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught was undeniable. And if you're serious about anything, if it's wrongdoing, if you're serious about that, you're going to get as far as you can into wrongdoing. Well, with the messenger's teaching, it was just seriousness about being upright, being a righteous, being a brother, being a sister to each other. And I think that that's what was the primary, and it was at that time I was a fish out of the water. I knew nothing. I mean, I've heard about his students. I knew, somewhat about Minister Farrakhan, who still today represents the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I had some inkling of Malcolm X, not the deep history on his involvement in the Nation of Islam. I just knew him from a standpoint of the Malcolm X movie and that type of thing, and the Ballad of the Bullet, and By Any Means Necessary, but that was all surface. At the time, I had no clue of who Wallace was, and a lot of the other student men or other ministers or followers of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I may have known them from afar. But it wasn't until I actually came and, on Wednesday nights, we would open up the books and study intensely, and which was great for someone coming into the teachings. And then on Friday, we would have an opportunity to come before the class and bear witness to what it is that we studied, learned, and anytime, that type of thing. So it's a gradual process in the teachers of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but it's a strong foundation, and even till today, it's nothing that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught or teach that that hasn't proven to be true. From whatever aspects of the teaching that we want to follow, or whatever it is that he taught, not that we want to follow, but whatever it is that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught, he was taught by the Almighty God Allah, and everything backs itself up, whether it's the fall of America, whether it's from birth of a savior, message to the black man, or whether it's the many lectures, tapes, or videos that we found. All of it is concrete knowledge.
You know, as a brother like many of us, but I know your situation too, this teaching's brought about a shift for you. I'm not going to say 180 degrees, but it was a noticeable shift in the path that you were on. And when you reflect back on that time and in your growth, how was your transition? How was it received by family and friends when they began to notice the change in you?
I think for the most part, looking back on it, it was a positive, and that's kind of, I can't say it's surprising, but it was positive because the people that I've hung with, they knew the route that I was on. And today, I still have those same relationship with pretty much everyone that I've grown up with. Not that, we all grown and doing different things and not doing that type of life anymore, but it was a mutual respect, like as I said earlier, I clown to have a good time, but I'm very serious about what I believe in.
Yes, sir.
And I don't try to do anything half-heartedly. So it would be times we debate, with one another about what I've learned in class, and it gave them a lot of respect for this organization because this is a neighborhood that I grew up in.
Right.
So I'm 2 blocks, away that I grew up in for the most part for all of my life, really. So it was received well, deservingly so. I mean, the brothers here, in the neighborhood has a great respect for this organization. We've been here since the 90s in this particular location.
Right.
And, we've been insulated from a lot of the madness that goes on around here. We've had many people to come in the doors, whether they're from the west side of Chicago, whether they're from out of state, the east side. Brother Munir in particular did a heck of a job when it comes to promoting the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, promoting Crow as an organization. He never allowed us or wanted us to have the messenger to take a back seat to anything. And as a young man growing up, I've learned a lot from him because, just watching him to see how he was very proud about what we've been taught. And was not directly for him, it was directly for him, but it didn't just benefit him. And that's how the messenger's teachings are. It benefits anyone who would grab hold to it. We can be in the lowest state, sea level low, and then be able to rise from that and to be, unlimited on what we can do, but to be actually giants in the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in life itself.
Yeah. I recall that, and it was fun for us. I mean,
Yeah, we had some good times.
we had yeah, some great times, and you know, and I know many people don't get that, but even in our studies, when we would debate or learn things, there was an excitement about discovering that truth.
Hmm.
And I think as young men and having different milestones, that we reach, you say it was a fish out of water, but I remember when you cut your hair, all
Hmm.
right, and when you came, it was like, okay, you did it, but everybody was excited, and you've always been someone very conscious about your health, your appearance, and have always taken it seriously. But you've been able to maintain your relationships, which we all try to do, no matter we want for our brother and sister what we want for ourselves. But so many of our people, when they get this teachings, some of them may not be confident as young people and lose themselves in it. So talk about the importance of just being yourself and how you've been received by everyone, because everyone doesn't get that kind of support. But I think because you were uncompromising and you always treated your brothers and sisters like brothers and sisters, you've been able to maintain those relationships.
Yeah, and I've had that early on. I had when I grew up, I was the youngest out of what there was four of us, and
Mm-hmm.
I had one older brother and two older sisters. But as far as hanging out, it was an age difference there that they were, adults
Right.
at the time. So what I did, gravitated to those in the neighborhood on the block.
Mm-hmm.
It started off where, of course, the immediate block, and then the surround. We played football, we
Mm-hmm.
played basketball. So we always had a quote unquote close knit community
Right.
before. I guess during the transition of the '80s with the drugs and
Mm-hmm.
things like that, but the particular neighborhood we grew up in, we knew everyone. So I always had that yearning
Mm-hmm.
for closeness, even if it wasn't my biological
Right.
brothers and sisters. We just grew up like that. I mean, we grew up where I can go over to my neighbor's house
Mm-hmm.
and they can come over my house. I mean, I remember the incident whereas the neighbor's house caught on fire and the younger children stayed with us for a good while.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a lot of that, growing up today, but
Yes, sir.
with that being instilled in me in a young age, what the messenger taught just magnified that.
Yes, sir.
It magnified that. We have to be comfortable
Mm-hmm.
in what we believe in.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about early in class, we talked about faith and fear. You really can't have any fear on anything that you do. I mean, but we have to have faith in what we've been taught. And that faith is, I guess, predicated on
Mm-hmm.
we see, start to unfold before our eyes what we've learned of what we've been taught or read. So it makes it a little easier
Right.
when you can see that, okay, this makes sense to me from a book standpoint, but now I see it with my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I see what those pages are coming to life now. So when you have that, and then you also come in contact with those that don't know. So you see when you present that information to them, some of them perk up and they start to receive it well. And those that have an opposing view toward it, you see where it's holes in their
Mm-hmm.
testimony.
Right.
So that's pretty much what I've learned thus far in coming into contact with the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and really studying. And I like to always say, Crow to me are full of scholars.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone had the privilege of sitting in on any of our classes, especially on Wednesday when we unlock the book, when we're reading something and someone bear witness to come out of what their understanding on what they read
Mm-hmm.
or Islam. It's like, wow,
Right.
the things that you never would have thought somebody else's understanding are able to put things in perspective. You're
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, you're really sitting amongst geniuses. What they say, imams and scholars of, the terms that use in Islam. We
Mm-hmm.
really have that scholarly scholarship when it comes to Crow
Mm-hmm.
and what the messenger has been able to produce.
Yes, sir. Brother, I know that you've been with us for 26, going on 27 years here at Crow.
It's a long time.
Long time, isn't it? And I know that you're still implementing and applying those teachings today, um, whether in your entrepreneurial endeavors that you're doing. But if it was someone else out there that were in your position 26 years ago,
Mhm.
what would you tell them in order to get them to at least take a look at the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
Well, you have to. I mean, we're taught that, first of all, look at the success of the Muslim. When you compare the civil rights movement, when you compare, I mean, if you're into politics, I mean, Islam is taught by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad affects every aspect of your life. So, whatever it is, if you're in the mud like I was, I mean, and I don't want to keep harping on that
Right.
because the Nation of Islam has a bad rap, is
Right.
only attracting a
Mm-hmm.
certain element, a group of people. But that's not the case. You can be a Harvard scholar. I mean, you have people nowadays, the Cornell West and the whoever it is, quote unquote, who seek counsel in whether it's a Minister Farrakhan or may watch something that one of the shows that we put out or something that, going back to what Brother Munir,
Right.
many people, I mean, you can be a local politician or you can be the president, the mayor of Chicago, the mayor of different cities around the country, or leaders of other countries outside the United States, and they will come and bear witness to, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, or, how he has affected them or touched them or what they've learned, and not to only reduce the message to do for self, but he had a whole economic program blueprint for us to follow. So whatever it is, I don't care. The messenger's right on time. So you can't say, okay, it was for the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and it died off. What the messenger taught, this is the only teaching that has not died off based on everything that has been presented to us as a band-aid. The messenger is the only product or true solution to our problems. So whatever it is, questions on what you have about life itself, about politics, about health, about anything, we owe it to ourselves to investigate the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and what he teaches us.
So, well said, brother. Thank you for coming in and sitting with us and just sharing not only your perspective but your journey. And may Allah continue to bless you. Okay?
You too, brother. We hope to be here another 26 years, right?
Definitely, definitely, brother. Yeah. Yes,
126.
sir. Brothers and sisters, we're going to take a break and we're going to come back with another Crow member who's going to bear witness to the teachings and the impact of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We'll be right back. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. We are back. And again, we are streaming live. If you'd like to give us a call, you can dial 773-434-6625. And I'm joined in this segment by our friend and brother, fellow Crow member, brother Amir Majied. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Walaikum salam.
Brother, it's wonderful to have you on here, brother.
Brother, it's great to be here.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Brother, the first segment we were talking with our brother Fareed, giving insight to his journey. But, you've, of course, have been here quite a time yourself. What year did you come?
I think I came in 1992, brother.
Yes, sir.
I know I came in 1992.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And I believe, were you at Harold Washington then? Or?
Yeah, I was at Harold Washington along with Brother Mandine and 2 or 3 other brothers that were in the organization at the time. And that's how I learned about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, it was, my father used to always say that, if we had to start the organization over, it might not have been successful. It was just that perfect timing, and many of us came in at that same time as that secondary younger group. But at that time, back in 1992, if you could go back, was it a particular class that got you interested? What was your interest in learning more about the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
I would have to say during that time, and you can attest to that, whether it was in rap music and dress, people were they were in the blackness. They were
Right.
listening to Public Enemy. They were rocking the African leather medallions,
Right.
And things like that. So just being in that environment, and I think going to Harold, I think I read a article about Crow in the Indigo magazine, and that's how I started my journey and
Right.
found my way to Crow. I think they had just moved to this building. The phone number was to the building on Ashland. And so I was coming on Sundays. I got my membership. I was getting the newsletter in the mail at home, so I was reading those.
Right.
But I was, doing some other things too
Yes, sir.
that wasn't proper. But the thing that made me stick, man, was your father when they had to form at Malcolm X College.
Yes, sir.
And his presentation, it was just it was infectious. I knew that night. I said, man, this guy is serious about this.
Right.
I'm gonna try to stick with this and see where it takes me. And I've been a part of it ever since.
So, man, that's almost 30 years, bro.
Yeah, 30 years. Yeah, whenever the movie came out, and he handled them down there, and that was the beginning.
We talk about signature moments, and earlier, we were talking about fear and faith, and how you can't have fear.
Right.
And that moment at Malcolm X College, especially when it's such, our people have been railroaded into thinking, elevating Malcolm so high, and going there and just telling the truth about things, and was not an environment where we were well received, of course. We're there, and so that moment, and I spoke earlier about certain moments where you get a victory that you're like, man, okay,
Yes,
it
sir.
motivates you. And I know that was the moment for you. And at that time, you couldn't have had an in-depth knowledge of Malcolm or the Messenger at that time.
No, I didn't have an in-depth knowledge, but I knew after listening to Brother Manir that night, I knew he knew more about the subject than they did. It was clear to me that they were just going off it for the moment, or a fad.
Right,
I would
right.
say they weren't as serious about it, serious a student about it as he was, and that was clear to me after that night, that they were part time.
Right,
They were part time with this, and he was definitely full time.
Yeah. For you, you've always had the reputation here of being a good brother, exemplary in your relationships or interactions with others. What has been, let's talk about the impact of the teachings on your life.
Man, the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad on my life have I mean, that's where I began to understand life. I always say, man, this is where I became him. I was like 22 years old,
Yes, sir.
and you know, my father and my mother, they were sympathizers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but it was never really taught in the household,
Right.
you know. But this the impact it makes you. I would tell a person the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is life, and it shows you how to operate and try to maintain your life and how to deal with everything in life,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, it's something to grow up here. You know, you and I, we can almost just look at each other and start smiling. You know, as
Yeah.
having, you know, how our journeys are parallel in many ways, and some
Yes,
of
sir.
the trials and things that we deal with.
Yes, sir.
But, you know, with that, what I'm so pleased that we've been instilled in is that no matter what happens, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teaching is never questioned.
Yes, sir.
We understand that uh, his teaching is the reason that we're really here. You know, to
Yeah.
be honest, brother, because as Brother Fareed alluded to, whatever you do with the message's teachings, you could do better. Whether it's, you know, your ability to write, the communication skills, everything that we do, the purpose, the root is the most honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Right.
And, you know, it makes that when he teaches about that zero, and then when God comes and gets behind you and makes it tenfold, you know, that's really what it is.
Exactly.
Because the thing that gives us the consciousness, the love, the drive is the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I know when people in our viewing audience may hear that, it may seem kind of superficial or Pollyanna, but it really is. When you and I, if we get weak, all we have to think about is our messenger and that sacrifice.
Right. And then you just say to yourself, life ain't that bad.
Right,
You know, life
right.
not that bad. You know, and it helps you deal with the ups and downs of life. You know, you don't get emotional. You don't fly off the handle like you probably would. And if you had not had this understanding that that's ups and downs are a part of life. You know,
Yes, sir.
and because the Quran say, "Don't blame me, not blame yourselves."
Yeah.
You know.
And those trials are gonna come, you know. We get stronger from that adversity. When you look at when you accepted Islam, as I asked Brother Fareed, uh, what was that journey like? I mean, I know you said your parents were sympathizers, uh, but when you found your way and gravitated towards it, did they have any thoughts? What was your friends like? I mean, what was that
Uh,
environment like for you?
You know, when I first started studying this teaching, I had like one or two friends. You know, I told them, but I knew I had, and I don't know subconsciously or what. I just know black people have something negative to say, so
Right.
I kind of kept it here to myself till I got me a footing and understood, and then I told people.
Yes, sir.
You know, but far as family, they didn't have anything to say far as negatively. Maybe a couple. I remember one friend of the family asked me once, but this was later on down the line. You know, why would you give up? Why did you give up your family name? I just said, man, it wasn't mine. You
Right.
know, and that's the only thing I can ever think of as far as
You
that.
know, it's something. I shoot, I forgot. I'm not gonna ask you what it was. It don't matter. But you know, that was another thing for Reed. You know, uh, we talk about the change of the name. You know, I know how some people question or claim it, but it was almost like a bad. And I recall when I got my name, brothers and sisters, I was so excited. Was the reason, along of course with the teachers, I give them credit about my penmanship because I used to write it over and over again. I was so excited to have a name with meaning, a name that was mine, you know, and I don't think that people really understand uh, when we give the master back his name, that's an act of rebuke. You know, he'll take your name. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, that's. I didn't think nothing of it. I think the same day I saw a brother there. We were there the same day,
Yes, sir.
and all I can remember is the judge saying, "Good luck with your new name." you know. But I never looked back after that. Once I understood that the name I wore before was a slave name, I just and plus I'll take that back. I had a child on the way.
Yes, sir.
That's
Okay.
that helped me pick up the pace too. Yeah, I didn't want him born with that name.
Hey, brother. Hey, whatever the motivation is,
Yes,
brother.
sir.
But you
Yes,
know,
sir.
but that's it too, because sometimes situations are created that make us accelerate our growth,
Yes, sir.
and our pace. And so, but I think even with that, for that child and those to know the sacrifice and the thought that goes into that, because I recall the first person in our family to be born with the Muslim name. I have a cousin named Kareem Rashid Muhammad, and of course my sister Agina Mushira Muhammad, Dr. Agina Mushira Muhammad,
Yes,
and
sir.
Dr. Kareem Rashid Muhammad. Let me put that there. Both of those were the first in the immediate family to be named Muslim names, to be born with that.
Yes, sir.
And remember what a proud thing that is too, as a parent to be able to do that. So your child comes up with their own name and having that truth. And so it's so wonderful, brother. And your 29 years of being here, of course, we wish for 29 more.
Yes, sir.
But again, as we close out this segment, what would you say to encourage someone to come out to Crow to learn more about the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
I would just tell them you have, as Trump said, you got nothing to lose, brothers and sisters. As we look around the world today, we've tried everything. And as the messenger say, Islam comes when everything fails, and everything has failed us, and we can see it. We really can see it in this city.
Yes, sir.
And if that don't get you, just for your own educational purpose, you say you know Black history, come and learn at the house exclusively designed just for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
And that's what I would tell them.
All right, well, beautiful, brother. Well, thank you so much for joining us this
Yes,
segment,
sir.
brother. All
Thank
right.
you.
All right, brothers and sisters, we're going to take another break and come back with another witness bearer for the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We'll be right back. Assalamu alaikum, and we are back continuing our conversation with some of our brothers from Crow, the Coalition for the Remembrance of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And if you want to find out more about Crow, you can go to the website at www.crow.org or give us a call at 773-925-1600. And joining me in this segment is our friend and brother Emanuel Omarr. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Walaikum salam, my brother.
Brother, I'm glad to have you on here, brother.
Thanks for inviting me.
It's always good to sit down. Your smile is so infectious. You're such a wonderful brother.
Thank you.
Get a taste of history with you, and just the reality of blackness, and I'll say that because you interact with so many people. You're like the ambassador for, I'll say, the whole South Side. Everywhere.
Thank you for those kind
But,
words,
but
bro.
but you are, brother. I mean, you just genuinely a good brother. And um, how long have you been with the organization now?
I came maybe a month or two before your last guest, brother
Okay.
Amir.
And for the record, you were that brother who he saw down there when he was
Yes, yes,
just like,
yes,
you
that's
all were
the
down there
brother.
together, huh?
I had the similar experience. I just told the judge you can have your name back, and he asked whether I had committed a crime or was it some child support or something. I said no, you just can have your name back. I'm through with it. He laughed. The courtroom laughed, and they basically said, from now on, your name is Emanuel Omarr. Bam.
Yes, sir.
I walked out of there with a lot of pride.
What was it? Did you just wake up that morning and say you're gonna do it, or had you been thinking about it? Do you
Man,
recall?
I was thinking about it for at least some months. And then the opportunity just came, and I just said, I'm jumping. I'm going to take that leap.
Yes, sir.
It was just like getting married, I just had to take the leap. The opportunity came, and I just went for it.
I know that you love the organization, and for those of you in our viewing audience, our brother is wearing the "Because I Know I'm a Member of Crow" button on his lapel, and I see it often on him, and it's one of our original buttons. And tell me, why does that button have such meanings to you?
Well, your daddy used to wear it a lot,
Yes, sir.
and the founders used to wear them uh, even as much as the national. And I got an affinity toward this button because I remember the brother who was with Crow way back when I first came. His name is Amin Dada, I think his name was. He designed this button, and if you ever come to Crow, you'll see the seal of this button on the podium up front.
Yes,
And he was a great artist,
Yes,
and I appreciated him. I did appreciate him and this button, so that's why I'm proud to wear it.
And it's so beautiful. You mentioned Brother Leem and how he originally designed it. And I'm happy to say that we have a brother, Khalil Halim, here who has updated the logo as
Oh,
well.
wonderful.
Will be displayed. But it just shows that talent, that love that keeps that going, because everything needs updating. It's the same
Sure.
thing, but and it's just wonderful to have another member that has that kind of talent to look at it and want to do that, to bring it forward. And it's those victories, those things that really endures, because this is really family. I mean, we talk about it all the time at Crow.
Yes, sir.
I mean, we've known each other. We kind of grew up together.
I'm a little older than you
Yes,
guys,
yes, sir.
but I tell you,
Just a tad bit.
actually watching you all come up behind me, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yes, sir.
See y'all get this knowledge and wisdom. I know I actually came into the Nation of Islam in '83 when I first got out the Navy. I went over to the Final Call building, and I did have a great time with those brothers for about a year. And I have nothing negative to say. It's just that I went my way and went back out into the street a little bit.
Yes, sir.
And so I found my way back after some years, but I stumbled into this organization practically off the street because I lived down the street and did not know that I was not getting the direct teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I'm not saying that Minister Farrakhan and that group did a bad job. Did a great job, but it's nothing like getting your water directly from the well,
Right.
as opposed to somebody giving you the water from the well, doling some out to you. The great teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the most magnificent thing that I have come across, and I've traveled, and I'm so happy that I've actually found this place.
Yes, sir.
And in fact about it, a little upset that I didn't become a Muslim when I was a youngster, because the Muslims would come into our building, and I remember one brother in particular, Moses was his name, Brother Moses, and he sold insurance. And he stopped selling insurance just to full-time become a recruiter, basically. He took me to the mosque once. The messenger wasn't there, but I still remember the lecture. I remember the beauty of it all. You know, I thought I was in paradise or heaven.
Yes,
The
sir.
people were so sparkly, you know,
Yes, sir.
clean and just beautiful. And I never forgot that. That stayed in the back of my mind no matter where I went.
Yeah.
And I didn't join, but
Right.
you know, that was in my
But
mind.
you know, when you say that, it reminds me of my father. He he told me, he said, I just couldn't believe that if his father, my grandfather, had known about this teaching, that he wouldn't have told him. You
Right,
know, I
okay.
think when you get this teachings, you appreciate time more, of course, and you're like, wow, it was such good news. And you know, you were a brother who genuinely was excited with good news when we discovered something. And, you know, as Crow, and to our viewing audience, of course, we document the history of the Nation of Islam and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, going to archive, whether it's writings, videos, audios, whatever we could do to acquire and preserve the history of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad so you can know him better. You being a part of the organization, you actively did that yourself. I remember you going down, whether it was NBC, the library, getting stuff off of microfilm and all of those things. Now, I assume, you know, that you like to read anyway, but what was it about these teachings that made you so excited to just want to go find out all the information that was out there?
Well, this organization, it cleared some things up to me. And your father was such a man that I just couldn't believe his passion and his fervor and that he had the love that he had for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I kind of latched on to that.
Right.
And I was like, well, you know, is he all that, you know?
Right.
And then I would go back to the past. I had family members that was in the Nation of Islam in the early 70s, and I remember them. But they never spoke much about it, but they would leave books like that laying
Right.
around.
Yes.
And I remember reading The Fall of America, and that was 1976, the year I joined the Navy. And I remember sitting on my aunt's porch. I was actually watching the Olympics, the Summer
Okay.
Olympics. Sugar Ray Leonard was beating everybody up on his way to gold. And but I was reading this book in between, and I thought, wow, this can't be real. This is too beautiful. And I kind of maybe got through the book. I'm not sure if I got through the whole book, but I know it all stuck in my head.
Yes, sir.
And I was looking for something similar as I went through life, through the military and things like that, but I could never find anything that lit the flame like that book, you know, The Fall of America by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so therefore, I was actually on my path. And I'm grateful when I got out of the Navy in '83 to have went right over to the Final Call building.
Let me ask you, because I know that many of our people have served in the armed services. Did that experience help you to better understand the teachings? Did it play a role? Did it help even, you know, because you had traveled, you know, and saw different things, been different places? What did that experiencing more than just the south side of Chicago, what did that do for your
Well, the
perspective, if any?
discipline the military gives you is it makes you grow up to be a man because nobody's coddling you. You know, you have to stand on your own 2 feet. But the beauty of my military service was that it was no wartime, and I was on 3 different ships, and I went a lot of different places, and I saw a lot of beautiful things. I saw a lot of the beauty of the world, different countries and landscapes, and out at sea is where I experienced the most beauty, because you see different type of animals jumping out of the water and uh, flying fish and dolphins cutting across the bow and all that stuff just was amazing to me. But I think the greatest thing was the starry nights. There's nothing out there in the ocean to obstruct your view, and every patch of the sky had a dot of light in it, you know, and it was just amazing to me. And I've been other places, you know, on land that got kind of clear skies, but nothing like the middle of the ocean. You know, I saw different constellations as I was go past the equator and things like that. I thought about these things. I didn't write too much about them. I just kind of committed them to memory. And I'm glad you asked that, brother,
Yes,
because
sir.
it's very beautiful experience for me.
Yes, sir.
Um,
You know, I want to ask you this and kind of shift a little bit. You're a blessed brother. I know you're very close to your mother, you know, your siblings and things, and they've seen you grow in this teaching. But you're a grandfather now, and you know, I know that you know, I think you have three grandchildren, right? Two grandsons and a granddaughter, and for you to have these teachings and now to see that generation and that you're sharing and things like that, what how does it make you feel not only to be on the planet long enough, but you know, of course, your wife, Sister Marta, you know, you all being able to spend time with your grandchildren, teaching them and watching them grow. You know, as I said earlier, these teachings make you appreciate time and life better.
you're
And
right.
what does having these teachings and the fruition of having these grandchildren mean to you, brother?
Well, the grandchildren, the children, the
Yeah.
girls, they grew up in Crow,
Yes,
and
sir.
they have good extensive knowledge because of sisters like Sister Akila and your sister Dr. Muhammad, teaching them as well as their mother immersed in this great teaching. And so the girls came up with great knowledge, and so they imparted that, or they didn't get in the way at least of
Yes,
the
sir.
grandchildren learning this information as well. Nazir, of course, is a young brother who's been brought up in this organization, and while he lives in another city, he's still now seeking out Islam.
Yes, sir.
You know, he's down there. He went to the opening of the meetings down there last week, a couple of weeks ago, I think, and they enjoyed it. And that's what I want for him. I don't want him to be not having the Islam
Yes,
where
sir.
he is down there.
And I only ask because it's a different switch with the grandparents. I mean, I know
Oh yeah.
compared with the grandparent, you know, I saw how my parents are about the grandchildren. There's just something about that extra extension, you know, and I see the way Nasir is in particular because I see him more, you know, when he comes. Of course, you know, Sister Kaya, you know, and I'm not. Unfortunately, the other young man, I know him by what you all call him, Chuba, more than his real name. but
Caleb.
Caleb, yes, but you know, just to see that growing up, and it reminds me, brother, of my grandmother who accepted these teachings and had the opportunity to be with us and teach. It
I
reminds me of
remember
how
her.
my mother used to keep my children and teach them, you know, and just to be able to add that same level of security and comfort for them to be raised and taught in that kind of environment, it just makes you feel good. I know my father, you know, being a grandparent, I mean, it was just the world to him, you know. And he's always taught us about, you know, love of family and that extension and seeing that. And just the start, because you know, you talked about it. You wish you had these teachings earlier.
Right.
Yet you have grandchildren that, and of course, the young ladies, the sisters grew up here too, but another extension of people who are growing up having that root knowledge, and it's the time that hopefully it'll save them. You know,
Well, I hope so. You do have a choice, and once the messenger, you know, teaches you, you're free to do as you please. And so far, I have not been embarrassed by any of them. You know, they're grown, you know, and they're starting their families and going off into life with education and pursuits of success, and more power to them.
yes,
You
sir.
know.
Yes, sir.
I would like to say something though, brother, about
Yes, sir.
today's class. You really
Absolutely, brother.
taught very well. You know, I was glued to my seat, and I'm proud of you the way you take your time, uh, and you don't not like your father. Your father will burn it into you from
Yes, sir.
the podium. I think you're more like your mother, baby,
Yes, sir.
because you calmly walk through this teaching and this history, and you make your points, and you're very cogent in what you do, and I certainly appreciated it today.
Thank you, brother.
And I also want to say, walking into class today, I saw the tape of the students on. One of my favorite tapes.
Yes, sir.
These young people back in the early 60s, maybe 6 or 7 of them, a couple of sisters and I think 4 brothers, they were being interviewed by the BBC, and the interviewer was the famous Malcolm Muggeridge. He was no slouch or no lightweight.
Yes, sir.
Malcolm Muggeridge has a long history of being a soldier and spy, and he was a very good entertainer as far as information goes. And they handcuffed him.
Yes, sir.
You know, they handcuffed him, and I thought the man was scared. You know, at one point we said, "What about this pardon fire?" Because the young students didn't play around with that man. They laid the teachings on him raw, and it is one of my favorite shows to watch.
And it just shows, I mean, because they were serious,
Yes, they were.
they were confident, and they believed what they were saying. And as we were talking in class, seeing that, getting those victories, man, confidence, this teacher could do the world for you,
Yeah.
And we talk about removing that fear, getting it out your way, because this thing, brother, our history over here, from the day, even before we came to the shores of North America, ever since we've interacted with Caucasian people, they've been trying to instill fear in us one way or another. And so, out of that experience, and they talk about trauma now, just think of the generations of trauma born into that. And so, it's so important for us to be able to remove that fear if possible through the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Because as young men growing up, we remember our victories when we first got that badge, like, yeah, because we're taught to fear the consequence of certain things, of just by being black in wrong places, sometimes. And so when I look at those students, as Brother Amir said, when you look at what happened at Malcolm X College, which you were a part of.
I was
down
there. I was
Right, yeah.
fascinated. I have to echo that before you go in. For that was one of the most anchoring nights for me to be a member of Crow. Your father was magnificent up there, and I couldn't take my eyes off of him.
Yes, sir.
There was about 1,500 people in that room.
Yeah. And you need people like Brother Munir, who sometimes if you're not all in, you need that brother who's all in that gets you motivated. And even if you coming up a little short, you confident to be there.
Oh, he was the man.
Yes,
No
sir.
doubt.
And when you look at that, but that's the power of God.
It is.
That's the power of God. And as we're taught by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the reality of God, that could be in us. And that's the thing, that when we're posed with those questions or those situations, we can recall real-time examples of brothers and sisters who stood up in the face of that adversity. We could go to that tape that you referred to today of those students, or the Irv Kupsinet interview with the Most Honorable Elijah
Right.
Muhammad. But those things that let us know that if I stand on truth, that I'm going to be okay.
Right. And that's how you live on, not just through your children or the work you do or your friends, but this great teaching will you live on for that. I mean,
Yes, sir.
who talks about Malcolm Muggeridge today?
Yes,
You
sir.
know, except as he has to do with that tape.
Yes, sir.
I'm in Chicago. I don't hear nobody mention Irv Cup's name no more.
That's true.
But we show him all the time, in that great interview. And Irv Cup was prolific in the media.
Yes, sir.
And he had a very interesting life here in Chicago, sports-wise, and he was a referee, and he done a lot of great things. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad respected him enough to bring him into his home
Yes, sir.
for that interview.
And when you think about that, I think about Buzz Anderson and Neil Lewis Lomax.
Right.
Who, history we've documented all the way around, but to live long enough in the archive the history enough to be able to tell their story as it relates to this part of history. And as we were talking about the great Wesley South today,
Right.
and the audio tape,
WPON.
yeah. And so the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad touched so many, and that's the beauty of it, he wasn't a man who hid. And we didn't even talk about his international interviews and things that he did with the Oriental Press. You know, he's had many interviews and traveled abroad and has been well received. And so, brothers and sisters, for that information, I just have to tell you, you just don't have to come to Crow, brothers and sisters. Come to visit us. We're open 7 days a week. You know, brother, we're about to close up now, but also,
Going already?
yes, sir, that time is going. But thank you so much for joining us,
Thank
brother.
you for inviting me, brother. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you, brother. Brothers and sisters, I hope that you've enjoyed today's broadcast. On behalf of our brother Fareed Muhammad, brother Ahmeer Majied, our brother Emanuel Omarr, you know, all of them bearing witness to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Make sure that you tune in to Crow Radio later on today. Nothing But Elijah, hosted by Sister Akila Ali at 5:30 p.m. Central Time on Blog Talk Radio. Brothers and sisters, again, go to our website at crow, www.crow.org. Give us a call, 773-925-1600. Come find out more about the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the total black experience as preserved by the National Archives of the Nation of Islam and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad here at Crow. Thank you so much for viewing. On behalf of our Crow Television production team, I leave you with the greetings of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum.